Good morning and welcome to Top of the Morning by Mint, your daily shot of sharp business intel, global trends, and market movers. It's Thursday, July 10th. I'm Nelson John. It's a tariff-turbulent world out there. Trump's turning up the heat on Brazil, pharma imports, and even your tourist visa. India's scrambling for fertilizers. Vedanta is under a short seller siege, and global markets are holding their breath. From geopolitics to generics, we've got it all. This is your Top of the Morning fix. Let's dive right in. In a dramatic escalation, President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping 50% tariff on all Brazilian imports starting August 1st, sparking what could become a major U.S.-Brazil trade standoff. The move follows a war of words with Brazilian President Lula da Silva, who reportedly called Trump an unwanted emperor. Trump fired back with a sharply worded letter defending former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, calling his ongoing trial a witch hunt and an international disgrace. Bolsonaro was a highly respected leader, Trump wrote. This trial should not be taking place. But the real heat was in the trade message. Trump accused Brazil of years of unfair trade practices and censorship overreach, particularly targeting American tech firms. We must move away from a very unfair trade relationship, he declared, warning that the 50% tariff is far less than what is needed to level the playing field. Trump left the door slightly open. If Brazil reforms its tariff and trade barriers, the U.S. may revise the new penalties. Otherwise, more hikes could be on the way. A Section 301 probe into Brazil's digital trade practice is also underway. This isn't just tariffs, it's geopolitics with bite. Very, very high, like 200%. That's the tariff U.S. President Donald Trump has now threatened on pharmaceutical imports, in a move that's jolted India's $30 billion pharma export industry. We'll give companies a year or so to start manufacturing in the U.S. After that, imports will be hit with high tariffs, Trump told reporters. This follows a Section 232 probe launched in April, meant to assess if pharma imports threaten U.S. national security. And it hits close to home. The U.S. alone accounts for 31% of India's pharma exports, and Indian companies supply nearly 40% of all generic drugs sold in the U.S., covering critical conditions like hypertension and chronic pain. Indian drug makers warn this could trigger massive drug shortages in America. Our medicines help the U.S. save over $200 billion annually, said one Indian manufacturer anonymously. If tariffs go through, we might have to pull back from the U.S. market. Even U.S. industry voices agree. Kathleen Yeager of the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance warned that tariffs will cause more drug shortages and delay Indian investments in the U.S. Studies are ongoing and a formal decision is soon due. But India's pharma giants are bracing for impact. Now, if you're planning a trip to the U.S., get ready to shell out an extra $250. Under President Donald Trump's newly minted One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which kicked in on July 4th, the U.S. has introduced a visa integrity fee, a $250 surcharge for most non-immigrant visa holders, described as a kind of security deposit. The fee applies to categories like tourists, B1, B2, student, F and M, work, H-1B, and exchange J visas. However, diplomats are exempt. The Department of Homeland Security will collect the fee at the time of visa approval, and it's set to rise annually with inflation starting 2026. What's the catch here? The fee can be refunded, but only if you strictly follow the visa terms. No unauthorized work, no overstaying, and you must leave within 5 days of your visa's expiration. Think of it as a good behavior bond. For Indian travelers, this hits hard. A B1, B2 visa currently costs $185, about 15,800 rupees. With this new surcharge, the total shoots up to $472. That's about 40,500 rupees, a 2.5 times jump. Immigration firm Fragment calls it a part of broader fee overhaul, which includes other surcharges for tracking and processing. So, ready to pay up to prove you'll play by the rules? 2.5 years after Hindenburg shook up the Adani empire, another Indian corporate giant is under fire. This time, it's billionaire Anil Agrawal's Vedanta Resources. New York-based short seller Viceroy Research has accused the mining conglomerate of operating like a Ponzi scheme, reports Mint's Varun Sood and Dipali Banka. In its latest report, Viceroy alleges financial mismanagement and unstable debt at Vedanta. The company shot back, calling the report malicious and filled with selective misinformation. But public investors have reason to be on edge. Viceroy co-founder Fraser Perring says more reports are coming. Founded in 2016, Viceroy has a track record. It targeted 30 companies, with nearly 80% seeing their stock prices fall post-report. Unlike other short sellers who usually drop a single bombshell, Viceroy tends to go long, releasing 25-plus follow-ups on targets like Me Medics and Medical Properties Trust. In this case, Perring revealed he and his co-founders personally shorted Vedanta Resources bonds back in April. No external investors is backing the campaign for now. With Viceroy's aggressive multi-report strategy and its history of shaking up companies like Wirecard, the pressure on Vedanta may just be beginning. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has raised a red flag over India's heavy reliance on China for key fertilizer inputs, urging the industry to build a more resilient supply chain to protect Indian agriculture from future shocks. India must ensure it's not overly dependent on any one country for inputs essential to our agricultural economy, Goyal said, after Beijing cut exports of vital phosphatic materials like diammonium phosphate, DAP. DAP is India's second most used fertilizer after urea, and the sudden move by China has triggered a spike in global prices, just as farmers gear up for the Kharif sowing season. India imported over 2.5 million tons of DAP in FY25, much of it from China and West Asia. With China redirecting supplies for domestic use, Goyal stressed the need for alternative sourcing and long-term mineral partnerships. He also pitched for more domestic production and government support to identify new supply routes. On a broader note, Goyal said India's agri-exports, currently at 4.5 trillion rupees, could touch 20 trillion rupees with better food processing, branding and packaging. But the immediate challenge remains ensuring farmers aren't left short just as the planting season begins. That's all for today. Thank you for joining in. We are eagerly looking forward to our next Top of the Morning episode, which will be packed with the latest news. Until then, this is Nelson John signing off. Have a great day.